I've been working. I am in asset creation mode for the story and learning a new interface for generating AI images.
Oh, nice.
Called Comfy UI. It's like a node-based thing. I was using another one last year, 6 months ago.
I've heard about
this. But it's amazing what you can do, man. It's so crazy.
I'm gonna have to check it out. Okay, so we are on short term. That's 3 to 6 months.
Where are you? Why am I not seeing you?
If you go up to the top right, you can click on me and it'll bring you to me specifically.
No, I was trying to find the tab because I was still doing the Comfy UI stuff. So.
Oh, yeah.
It's like where I hear voices, I cannot see.
Okay. So did we move the feedback mechanism? So that automatically means implementation of the feedback mechanism goes into long term.
Check it out here, Alex.
Yep. There's a direct correlation to this one right here.
Okay.
So implementation of feedback mechanism for improvements in community alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Financial and customer member tracking. I personally don't know how I feel about this one and would like to know what you guys think. Kind of seems antithesis.
To what we want to do.
And then if we do that, that means that we're now suggesting those that we serve do it too.
Mm-hmm. We can do it under the specific wing of like implementing one of our business ideas. I think doing it for that to get better at what we do, I think then it makes sense. For like regular members, I don't think so. Customers, yes. Members, maybe no.
Or does it go along with this idea of just giving like a holistic picture and it's like anonymized, or it's only like shown, like you said, customer like as entity, just so we get a general idea of what businesses are doing with the protocol. So essentially some of the Dune stuff that Chris was doing, maybe. So more about like metrics and reporting. Again, I want to do that in short term. But I think the idea of being able to track our progress and the effects of our work is maybe important. Any thoughts about how that might be different than this idea of financial tracking things? I'm assuming that's what that meant anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
How do we feel about this idea of unlocked DAO user base ethnography? So essentially that's just gathering a makeup of who and how people in our community are. So things like where do people live, what do people do, what are their ages, general makeup understanding.
So I will play the devil's advocate on this side. Tell us thumbs down comes. I think that there is a legitimate reason for finding or at least knowing that information. As someone who's building an educational initiative for people to find out using Unlock regardless, I think that there's a space here where as someone who's building that, I look forward and go, well, okay, what other things can I do with this platform? And that is connecting people to the right community that their values and their alignment is, right? Like, I think a lot of us waste a lot of time in a lot of fucking communities prior to this one and have spent time where we shouldn't have spent time. So how can we find communities that best align with us or that we might be able to fit in better? And yes, Stella, you can raise your hand now. Or unraise your hand.
Okay, so I think I understand. Okay, first of all, I do understand where you're coming from, right? But this is a permissionless protocol, correct?
Sure.
Right? This is what we want to build up on. So if for our own business initiatives we want to do this, I think that is fine. To do it for the entire protocol and start tracking people for the usage, I think that's fundamentally wrong and against anything that decentralization stands for, to be honest.
I mean, they're already doing it though. People use it to find who has what wallets have what DeFi wallets are whales and
that is
all of
them,
that.
right? So when they use the protocol for their event, right, they can ask for certain data points, sure, but they still don't know where people are living, for example, right? I just find this too invasive. Like, why do we want to play with people's data yet again to risk that other people will exploit that data? And also, it will make us highly responsible for data security, not to forget.
I mean, I think that responsibility can come back to the individual and give up their data for X amount of
It doesn't
monetary value.
It doesn't.
What do you mean it doesn't?
You. If you're the company who stores the data, you're the responsible entity. In Europe, it is that way. It's not on
what
the
if we
individual.
store our own data?
Huh?
So,
Wait, what?
Arguably, what if we store our own data? We are the ones responsible of giving our data out. Think Brave browser, but on a bigger level because it's all blockchain. We own our own data. We share our data with whoever we want, which it's supposed to be that way. But now we're able to control that and we're able to earn income as a royalty because we gave out our data to whoever that specific entity was.
But again, that is with the entity that uses our protocol, right? Our protocol to actually host an event, to do certifications, right? That's onto them. But if we're suggesting that this becomes part of what the DAO does, this is doing this here, right? That's a very different story, in my opinion. Anyway, I'm against it. You can do what you want. I'm against it.
I'm the one that wrote this, and I will clarify why I wrote this. And it's somewhere in between. And it's somewhere in between both of what you guys are saying. So I think
I have never thought this was the first time.
I think it's relevant and important to be able to understand who we are and how we're represented.
Okay.
I'm not saying that you need to know that I exist in Peru, Indiana at my address, but it might be interesting to know that I live in the Midwest or the Eastern time zone, right? Those sort of things. I'm not saying that I need to know that Dale works at GM in this department. I don't know if you work anywhere actually at like a established business that's not your own, but but maybe I need to know that Dale does educational content and things like that. But maybe it's anonymized and it doesn't say that Dale does it. It just says we have a team member or a DAO member who does these things. That's the direction that I was thinking. That way, if we do the things we talked about, like we can say, if you're interested in pairing unlocked technologies in the DAO with somebody in there that does, very good with GDPR email things, since you're in show. Maybe we have somebody that can represent that for you. That doesn't mean they have to do that. It just means that they can. I am very against storing your personal and sensitive information completely. Photography is more just a snapshot.
I mean, I think I can get behind what Alex is saying because I understand it. Because it sounds to me like what you're saying is we don't really need to get any identifiable data. Just basically some general information about what the user, like the user base is, or who it is, or like what they're about, or where they, like nothing that identifies anyone per se. Okay, maybe we've got like something that says we have some people in Africa, some people in North America, or something like that. Nothing that ties anything to anyone. Just, oh, we've got users in this location, and we've got people that are businesses or stuff like that. Just something very high level.
Yeah.
Is that
So
That's not,
also to the point of our customers, right, who are also DAO members at the same time. I would like to know if like 90% of what we're doing is events only, right? Versus like we have, 20% of our organizations that we support are doing like yoga memberships or gym memberships. Like that sort of information is appealing to know how to like proliferate what we're doing. I don't need to know that John, who runs Yogis International, is existing in these 5 states.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
if it's something like this, I can get behind it, right? I just don't
Yeah.
want to, because we always have to consider, right? I mean, now unlock protocols may be something relatively harmless, right? Also to like larger governments and so on and so forth. But people have been hunted down for less, let's just say, right?
Oh, for sure.
In
Yeah.
several countries. So like potentially risking exposing data points on like whereabouts of individuals,
Sure.
that
Yeah.
would be going completely against anything I believe, to be honest. So
So
sure.
I've gotten in trouble at several businesses that I've worked at for being too ethical in my research, like data consumption. They get mad at me for not doing more. So I'm very happy to like make sure that the types of information we're gathering and how it gets stored is considered.
but
Right.
at the same
And
but at the same time, going back to Dale's point, right? I do understand the need to understand how you can, if you build something on Unlock Protocol, right? How can you expand your own community? I do understand that need. And
Yeah.
right now, essentially the only thing we have, right, is showcases, right? This like little hidden website, mini website, right, that kind of summarizes different use cases of Unlock Protocol. And it's not tied to like a person you can necessarily reach out to. So kind of strengthening Dale's point, right? We could think about something for like the Patreon kind of idea that, suddenly creators on Unlock Protocol become discoverable, right, through Unlock DAO. So I think this is still like brilliant and doesn't need to work necessarily with data points specifically, but rather us bringing like exposure to the people who build on top of us. That makes sense.
Yes, and the other information would be self-identified, not us extracting, right? So, hey, we would like to get a survey of who our customers are using this thing are, and in general, it's optional data, right? And it's not.
Yeah, but we could do a survey on that.
So this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like searching up IP addresses and where like things are specifically minted to be like, hey, this person made this contract at this wallet address at this location.
When I read financial customer tracking, I'm like, all alarm clocks are going on for me, right? The word tracking is just has a lot of like negativity to it when you think about cybersecurity, in my opinion. So
I think one of the things that kind of struck me here was that we have to, there's reasons for a lot of things, but the one thing that I keep coming back to is if you're throwing an event and if you want some sort of discoverability, and we'll just use concerts for an example, because I think that's kind of where I see a lot of the ticketing happening, that in sporting events especially, but that's beside the point, where you want customers that have attended one event to be able to know about these other events and not have to go look them up themselves. It's like maybe they're in the location of where they are. Like artists are literally bombarding people all the time with their concerts, but you can't keep up with that, right? Unless you're following that artist. And what happens if somebody else comes to your town and then you miss it anyway? So it's like, how do we make it really easy for fans to discover artists or events that are taking place nearby them without them giving up that information? I think the wallet address is definitely one of those ways that kind of fills that gap without giving anything away, but you have to know somehow.
Yeah, well, I guess the point is it's not necessarily the responsibility of the DAO to do that. Like individual projects and teams could work on stuff like that.
Yeah, this information is not provided to customers or other people using it. It's just like within the DAO.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say, Stella, if you could rewrite those two to meet your comfortability through language and topic, I would. Because I do like there could also be a very important part about like financial and customer tracking from the DAO perspective. Like, are we meeting our budget type thing, right? And maybe that's what they meant. I highly doubt it, but that could be, and that's something that we need to do, right? Or customer tracking of like, are we gaining users on the protocol?
Yeah, but
so
this is not tracking. We can just pull the data from the Dune
On
dashboard,
chain,
right? We have
yeah.
a direct integration with Dune, so we're not just some project on there. So you can pull this data. So can we just write efficient Dune analytics dashboard for the DAO and our customer segments? Is that okay? Okay.
Sure.
Cool. And shall I put?
Although I don't know if the types of information that Alex talked about were things you can get from Dune. Because it sounds to me like some of these things are things you can get from a survey, where people would basically just have to just give it away without actually any personal identifiable information attached to it. It just lets us know. But with Dune, it's pretty much on-chain data, so we can tell if we're getting new customers and all those other types of things, revenue, fees, all that stuff from Dune. But some of these other stuff, it had to be like surveys and stuff like that.
Okay,
self-identified information.
Yeah. Sorry, that wasn't frictionless, was it?
Well, I mean, I think that was a good conversation to have, though, because I feel very similar. And when talking about these things, those triggers can be made very easily. Because it's like, how do we do some of the same things that we have done in the Web 2 world for a very long time with removing the stuff that's not good and ethical,
But,
right?
Yeah, and also because of the discussion or the point that they stated, I think you just gave me another idea for an unlock protocol integration that I should reach out for too, because I just tried Nounspace, which is essentially the on-chain version of MySpace, if you guys still remember that, like 100 years ago.
I was there.
Right?
I was there.
So I was wondering if I should reach out to them for an integration so that people who are using Nounspace can directly prettily post the NFTs that they are trying to distribute through Unlock Protocol. Anyway, side note. Okay, let's move on.
There's one thing that wasn't placed that I think is probably important. Oh, that's down here. Is the regularly published updates of DAO activities, initiatives, working groups, outcomes, etc. Yes, I know that's happening, but I've added a how on there. I think it might be interesting to have some sort of outgoing publication that is kind of a summary of stuff.
Let's put it there.
And I'm sure that there's probably a really cool integration to say stuff that's in Charmverse now go into what is the on-chain paragraph? No.
Yeah.
What do you guys use? Paragraph? Yeah.
You mean
Mirror paragraph.
mirror is also on chain? Yeah.
Yeah. So something that basically goes into that from the Charmverse and some little layout things and then just
Sounds like a plan. Yeah.
boom.
Okay.
What about recruitment or marketing implementation?
What is the recruiting part of that? I'm not sure what that means.
So I think that might have been recruiting new members
I hit it.
or to become on-chain. That's fine. I feel similarly.
Okay. Long term? Are we
All
ready
right.
for long term? What's happening here?
I'm ready for long-term if you guys are.
Sure.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
So again, before placing it, just make sure that we agree that they exist in long-term. And long-term is anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. So they can be sort of like stretch things, and maybe a little less specific than the other ones.
What does this mean? Develop sales collateral.
Same question.
I
So
did not
bold.
write that one. I think that one wasn't even summarized. I think it was just. So, begin acquiring customers, search for program market fit, develop sales collateral, modify and iterate on purpose. So essentially, I think that what that means is things that you utilize for sales. So that would be like who your customers are, what customers you're targeting, what sort of sales initiatives and ways of doing sales happen, right? So the same that you would consider as like marketing collateral, but think about it in sort of the frame of sales. Does that make sense?
Yes, I guess.
I don't know if we have that. Iterate on mission and purpose. I'm putting that outside because we haven't decided how frequently to do that. We've talked about it a little bit. I think that should be revisited at the end of this exercise. Like the full thing. Okay, so the bring ideas to market, that was originally within, somebody had written this idea of having a hackathon that we support, picking like winners for the hackathon like you normally would, but then also similar to how Buffetcorn Ventures works, basically identifying ones that seem to have like really good market fit and figuring out how to become invested in it and push them into the market.
I don't think we will be there in 2 years. I think we will start by developing the business ideas that we have formulated and developed. I think we might get there, but to get into the position of pushing other projects, I think that will be 2 to 6 years.
So I changed it to what it says here because I think it's something that we could consider doing for ourselves. So
Wait, I just wrote this. What are you talking about?
Wait, really?
Yeah. I just wrote this part.
That's so funny. That exists elsewhere. That's so funny. So that's what somebody else had written. I was thinking the same idea, but it's these sort of experiments that we're talking about doing. Us bringing those to market, I think, can happen.
Yeah, you had this one. Look.
Oh, never mind. I guess I didn't change it. I thought you did.
This one.
Also, something that's not in here is I think it would be cool to have a DAO bird project, but that's something else. Have 100 active contributing members in the DAO.
I think actually it's not very sustainable to have that many contributors. This is why I put the, wavy sign in front of it. I think we could do with 40, 50. If we had that, we would be already unbeatable. Yeah.
You never know what the future can hold. Shoot for the moon.
Yeah, if we have what's the sustainable economic model, then the sky's the limit.
Yeah. Can we add something to this area that is about flattening the DAO hierarchy? I think it should be on the roadmap, even though it's organizational.
Say
Because
more
like
thing.
in a year from now, I'm not planning to exist anymore. At least not in the sense of a lead steward, right? That means
Sure.
flattening hierarchy. This is why I think it's important to have it in here.
So
But
there's a lot of studies about flat organizations and how they ultimately fail. And you need some sort of hierarchy
lead.
to push that through. There are various ways of doing that. It doesn't need to be like singular lead steward. Sometimes council works really well.
Yeah, council will be established and then the council will essentially take over, right? That's the idea. But,
Or the working groups and then one council. Yeah. I mean, your job won't be there, right? That I understand that for sure.
So we will be one hierarchy less.
I mean, that's just
having a face is really important. Having a face is really important.
Yeah, you're trying to run away, Stella. What is that? What is up with you?
I'm not saying that like it needs to be quote unquote like a lead steward, aka like a president or whatever, but I would leave open the option for like a quote unquote face position. So somebody that can represent singularly when necessary for the collective group.
Yeah, but because I would be, so the way I've been thinking about this is that eventually the navigator role, which is right now on the, kind of lead steward is right now on top of the hierarchy, right? And this is when the council essentially comes. And so my idea is that that role essentially merges into an operations officer kind of position into the role of the council, right? So we're getting rid of the CEO, but at the same time, we're getting a COO. If that makes sense. So someone who organizes, he keeps organizing, keeps structuring to keep operations running, keep, member relations kind of smooth going, but their influence on the system becomes more equal to the other council members, if that makes sense.
So then I would just say establish the DAO council, I think.
No, but the DAO council is something that gets essentially established here, right?
Well, and I guess it's taken care of. Maybe destructure the lead steward if the DAO council is already established.
The DAO council needs the lead steward, specifically that language.
Eats?
Yeah.
Hannibal Lecter style.
Oh yeah.
Or Pac-Man style. How about that for less?
The Senate consumes.
Less gory.
Offensive, yeah.
Yeah, the Senate consumes a Caesar. No. Okay.
It's not major, I think. It's fine if it's down here, but I think it should be on there because it's an organizational change, right? It expects suddenly that council members kind of become like even a bit more autonomous, right? And so that it's an organizational change, so it should be in here.
Do we have anything in here that specifically talks about incoming money.
Yeah.
Isn't that what say sustainable economic model?
Yeah,
Around the ballpark?
but I think that there needs to be some level of like specifying how we intake
Yeah.
funds.
Specificity. Well,
Specificity. Danny roll.
Yeah, either like we have a product and or some dues, which is silly, but something.
we've got the DAO. What's the fee now? The network protocol fees there. We want more. I think that in the space of 2 years, like which is the long term thing, I think we definitely, because we are having all of those conversations, I think that DAO probably would have come up with some kind of value, and then maybe some membership based way to like usher that value, and so it's a constant revenue um, generating mechanisms, something like that.
I think so too. I think this section here, I don't know if it shows as marked, but this section here, I think that's already standing for that part. Because I don't think either of you wants to like pimp up the fees. Like I'm not eager to pimp up the fees, right? Because I I think 1% is good enough, right? Because
Yeah,
it's being used for burning the token and it makes sense. But if we, if we heighten the adoption rates of unlocked protocol, then it's self-adjusting to be going up, right? So we don't
yeah,
need to increase the fee itself, in my opinion. So
yeah. Same
I
here.
think sustainable also implies that people are getting paid for their work.
Yeah,
Which isn't also explicitly stated, right? Like,
we could add that to the roads, right?
yeah. Okay, it is 10 till 9 till.
Yeah.
I really feel like we should be doing the next exercise as a group. Preferably a larger group. So essentially, we're taking these same ideas of, near term, short term, long term, and then we're putting them on this grid of what we think is like high impact and high effort, or high impact and low effort, etc. And then there's an additional piece, and essentially we have people that had talked about professions or what they do, and then trying to basically align these things, these objects with those professions or commitment things, right? And so there's the we can or can't do it. So if we have a bunch of things that are high impact, low effort, but we don't have the professions to do it, that means we need to label them as we need to seek out people to do those things. That's essentially the idea. But I think that requires a larger team effort. Essentially, the people that weren't here, or people that were here last week that aren't this week.
Should we make that like part of a DAO call maybe? And at least then we got some of the people showing up more than usual.
That sounds terrifying, but also exciting. Stella,
Yeah, I think we should do it. Yeah, I mean, it's a cold jump in the water, right? In literally ice water. But I think next week you should represent or present essentially the findings until this point, and then we dedicate half an hour or 20 minutes to actually doing this collaboratively. I think it also will show that, once again, I should say, it would show that we're not trying to do this behind closed curtains, because
Yeah.
we've been constantly announcing this on, I actually put it on LinkedIn as well, right? We've been announcing it on the Discord several times prior to this, on and on and on again, essentially for weeks, right? And I know some people are lurking, but then they're not lurking enough, or it's not just hitting their interest because they probably think it's useless.
I know that there are people that feel that way. So
Yeah,
that's just this work though.
yeah, but just, I mean, not that you need that form of encouragement in any way, but you know that's just bullshit, right? Because there's a reason why entire business conglomerates are built up on exactly the exercises that you are doing with us, right? And why a lot of businesses also fail that haven't ever done this. So
Exactly.
exactly. So yeah, I think Dale is right. It's going to be a nightmare probably, but let's do it.
It'll be a lot of fun, and I'll be able to facilitate better without acting as much. So then let me just like run through this whole thing again real quick. So we have the near term, short term, long term things. We'll place them in the groups like we did by themselves, right? So they'll actually place them and kind of agreed as a group the sort of areas that they exist in. We can identify if people can do them or not do them. And then ideally, we pick a bunch of stuff from the high impact, low effort stuff and start assigning it to people, or well, allow people to self-assign it, and hopefully they do.
Yeah, sounds.
I like it.
Absolutely.
Get all that done at all in a singular thing. So we could modify it and say, let's do the short term for the near term stuff, lay that out, and then do the identification thing.
Okay.
So then the other piece is, do we want Chris and Julian to participate in this? Personally, I think this would be a fine thing for them to participate in because it's not a spinning direction. It's literally, it's like a extra.
Agreed.
I will message them separately to say like, hey, we're going to do this during the doc call. It would be cool if you could participate. I know that you've left yourself out of these sort of directional things, but this is maybe not that. And I know that eventually their level of impact will subside, but right now they still have a lot of impact. So, awesome.
Cool.
So I owe you guys mission statements. What does that look like in reference to the alcohol and doing this in the alcohol? Like, do we go to the, or is it done before that? Like,
I don't know. I think we should do it then because you did suggest we could come up with a bunch of statements and people, vote on which one. And that sounds like a good place or not, but I think it's not a bad place at all.
so good.
Yeah, maybe here's the thing that speaks a little bit against it, right? They didn't go through the entire process that we just went through for like 4 full hours, right? So they have way less understanding of how we came to certain formulations versus others or in comparison to others. So I think, but again, this is up for discussion. Maybe really you do the async combination, right? And then we discuss those combinations and the preference between these combinations and the DAO call. I think this will have a much more impactful, it will be much more impactful than trying to formulate sentences with people who haven't gone through the process and then will question every single, like, why did
It'll be
you
going through that
prioritize
process.
this over that? Yeah, you will repeat the entire process. First of all,
You're
that will
inviting-
bump the time of the meeting, but also will be really not productive.
Yeah. You're inviting people to feel like you're unsure about things. And I think based on what we've done, we need to show that we are sure, and that we're producing and we feel good about it. It's the same thing of being like, I would like to do this versus saying, I would like to do this if it's okay with you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right?
Yeah.
It's just taking me years to learn how to do, and I still suck at it. But
That's fine. I think we all have these little holes in our profession, that come and hound us. No, but I think really putting this together is, you've designed this, you've been there, right? You have heard like essentially the opinions or the prioritizations and the reasons for them by the most engaged members in this little working group, right? So now putting this together as like one person seems like very productive and efficient, but then you will have different results probably, and it is really hard to then be this one person and try to choose the best result, because that will be probably very biased, right? So
yeah,
putting, let's say, 3 results out there and say, let's get some feedback on these, because there will be overlaps, right? It's not like you're going to come up with 3 entirely different statements.
yeah.
They're completely on opposite sides of the graph, right?
Right.
So yeah, no, I personally would prefer that methodology to.
Basically, it's the approach of here's our research paper, here's the work we've done. What do y'all think? As opposed to, hey, let's do this again kind of thing and see where we go.
Yes. The last piece of it is, would you guys like to take an eye at them beforehand, just to like do any like tweaks or edits on language?
Sure.
Not really for the tweaks, but also for like incentivized prioritization, because we were here.
I mean, we could come up with a voting system and say that the people that participated votes count twice.
Can we do it on chain and make it really a pain in the ass?
Oh God.
On Tally?
Oh yeah,
Do it on
oh
Tally.
yeah, we can definitely do that. Oh yeah.
I mean, we could definitely do the off-chain voting as a poll, right? Well,
Sure.
we could do that. I mean, it would be an option to get probably more opinions, but we can also see just how the DAO call runs. But to be very honest, it is quite a major decision, right? And so it might be worth it putting it on chain, or like at least off-chain voting, because it doesn't have, a transaction attached to it or something. So we
Right.
don't need to put it on Tally, in my opinion. But
No,
And then
No,
Julie
transparency's sake,
eating
and
dog
also,
food.
yeah, and also it will be a verifiable milestone on our roadmap,
Yeah.
right?
it would be ratified, so to speak.
I need to create badges.
Yeah, actually, that sounds really good. Like, we should definitely do that.
So we got badges for workshop participation. Is it a thing where we need to incentivize voting and say that they get badges if they vote?
Yeah, I mean, it's badges. We could give out as much as we want.
Yeah, but what's the like baseline level of earnability we want to suggest?
Vote. I mean, like there should be like 2 badges: the badges for participation, obviously, and then the badge for voting, because it's a really important milestone in the history of the DAO. So yeah, it
Future
could be like,
But,
yeah,
but
it could be like a DAO artifact for voting or something. One of those. Yeah.
no, but I just wanted to say, I think what definitely this session deserves is a community artifact, because it's a milestone.
Oh yeah, community
Happy to put that together, or maybe Alex, because you led this, you should actually mint this, right? And I can just give you the template for the artifacts that we have for now.
All right, so I mint 25 artifacts for this, 25 voting artifacts, and then I'm at 50. I'm kidding. You have to be paid, right? So
On Arbitrum. Don't forget, it's got to be on Arbitrum.
Honestly, I do like what Chris is doing with with the block ones, right? Of like, there's only 10 collectibles. If you're not too late, you're too late. Like, fuck you, right?
Yeah.
It's not happening. I do like
Yeah,
Never
yeah,
mind.
yeah. I think that's actually a great way to do this.
I mean, I think rarity is a gamified, just perfect mechanism, right? Like that just makes it, hey, you know, you got it, you got it. You didn't, you didn't.
For Snapshot, when you vote, you can. It's based on wallets, right?
Yeah, we honestly we cannot do anything with the weighted voting on this, right? Unless
Well,
we
no, I
make
know
a
that. I'm just
unlock
saying
DAO
that.
space.
I'm just saying, like, to log in and identify who you are, and you use your wallet, right?
Yes.
So we could make it a, if you voted, you automatically get airdrop the thing.
I mean, we would need to talk to whoever built the snapshot space. I don't know from which wallet that was built.
Actually, I think there's an API to like programmatically do stuff like that. The
Yeah.
snapshot.
Yeah, but you have to use, unless you're a manager of the snapshot space, you have to use the wallet that is the manager of the space, right?
To do what exactly?
But then
So essentially, I just want to do a auto airdrop if you voted.
Yeah, he's probably just gonna check the proposal and get the address of the people who voted, and then he can just airdrop to the people who voted.
I'm trying to remove a step of me checking in case I forget type thing.
Yeah, you could definitely programmatically do that.
I
Okay.
mean, it's not going to be 50, so it might be worth putting an Excel sheet together and just doing the bulk airdrop send out. First.
Yeah, it's not gonna be 50.
Just saying.
We really don't have that much.
So I'll talk to you more though about doing this and how we do it. So cool.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
for
for putting it
doing
together.
Feeling.
I'm
This is
very
great.
excited. Oh, sorry, Dave.
Very much. No, I was going to say the same thing. Yeah. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. I mean, there's still more to do, but we haven't even gotten to
Oh,
this stuff.
Oh man, you're killing me. There was hope this is ending. What are you doing?
This could be a separate thing.
Okay,
But
okay,
we
okay.
need to
oh, what
talk
are
about-
we? Is this the relationship question of what are we?
Yes, this is the relationship of us and the DAO, and then how
Situationship?
it looks like, and then also now because the foundation exists, we need to figure it out.
Well, true.
I got you. I'm in. We're till the end. Let's do it.